Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Pile It On, a football podcast brought to you by thepropsnetwork.com. I am Steve Clark, one of your humble hosts, and joining me as always is my co-host,
Joel Walkowski.
That's right.
I am happy to be here for Pile It On, half of the fabulous football boys, here with my buddy Steve Clark. Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you forget your own name for a second during that intro? I am Steve Clark.
It's just I've been inside so long with no real purpose that I'm not sure who, I don't know my own identity right now. I don't know my purpose. It's a tough time. All I know is sitting in front of this computer for hours on end. But you're outside. Lucky.
I am outside on the computer, hiding from my in-laws. They are calling me as we speak. I cannot get away from these people. My life is good, but I'm paying a high price.
Maybe they'll pay a visit to the podcast and be our first guests.
Yeah, there's a little cousin here. I made him appear in NFL Fan Therapy yesterday, playing the son who abuses me, so it's all right.
We had stuff to watch this weekend. It was great.
We did. We had a lot of stuff to watch, and it was good stuff to watch. Kudos to the production teams at ESPN, the NFL Network, and everyone who put together a really fun Zoom show for us to watch.
I was shocked at how smoothly everything went. There were a couple of hiccups, but for the most part, it just seemed like a regular broadcast of the draft.
You knew you were in good hands right from the start. I'm watching the ESPN broadcast. It took a little while to get it going. I don't see a reason why we have to start this thing at 8:25 as opposed to 8 o'clock. The draft has been moved back. We've waited 4 months. Can we please get the 8 o'clock start? We're going to put in a national anthem. We're going to put in our first of 25 COVID-19 tributes.
Yeah.
But as soon as they were off and running, I saw Joe Burrow, and then we got the ESPN graphics package. Love that they gave it the Monday Night Football treatment.
Yeah.
Burrow's Bayou. I was sold. I knew I was in for a great night.
Other than that cool Monday Night Football graphics package, they also had crazy facts and stats about each player. And it wasn't just this guy played high school basketball or this guy was a dual sport athlete in college. It was this guy's mom died when this wide receiver was 3 years old and his dad moved away and left him alone. It was just the saddest things about every single player.
Yeah, and I believe the T. Higgins situation unfortunately became the takeaway for the entire draft, because if you were on Twitter Thursday night, and I know if you're listening to this podcast, you probably were. You want to see how the draft grades out. You want to see your team's supposedly going to take in round 2. But the real criticism there was they're going in on these players. It's not fair. Why are they bringing up this stats on the biggest moment of their lives? And then they begin the second round. T. Higgins is selected, and they drop the fact that his mom was addicted to drugs for 16 years.
And she's fine now. She overcame that. That's all in her past. It's not it's just such a weird thing to throw out there about his mom.
And usually with addiction, it's phrased in the sense of they triumphed over something.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was addicted to drugs for 16 years. You're true. It's you're hanging out at a party with someone with no social skills. I have a history, and I'll be at parties with some guys who don't know what they're doing, and they'll be yeah, Joel got a wedding called off on him once. It's cool. Let's lead with that. So I'm sure whatever bozo friends I have that I don't hanging out with parties, we're in the graphics room at ESPN.
I mean, if they're going to do this to the players, they should also do it to Trey Wingo. Whenever he came up on screen, they should have given him a lower third that just, he's of the age where both of his parents probably still aren't alive. Just, why don't we mention one of Trey Wingo's parents being dead?
Yeah, let's find out. We should do that as a starter, let's find out how emotionally stunted we are. Let's lead with our obstacles.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really something, and really no precedent for it. Really no reaction to it other than like a dull sense of shock.
Yeah.
And like, hats off to them for apologizing. Hats off to all the draftees who kind of got through this and made it a night. And like, you can't find something more interesting, ESPN? You're telling me no one owns a snake? Tell us what their Halloween costumes were. I don't care. I don't need to know this.
Exactly. Like in the first 10 picks, I feel like they did an okay job. Like they had Derek Brown and they said that he used to play the drums and that his nickname as a child was Baby Barack. Both very fun facts. That's the kind of stuff I want to know about a new draftee. But then yeah, the T. Higgins thing, what are you doing?
Baby Barack is a good nickname. Like,
Yeah.
lead with that. It's fantastic. And, you know, they did all these facts about like, they were pretty negative about the draftees, but no bigger red flag came out to me than Joe Burrow's appearance. Like, he's got the hat pulled real low. He's got the huge chain. I had a cousin who I won't name who was dealing drugs pretty heavily in the Midwest, and Joe Burrow gave off the same vibe that he did when I was really worried about him.
Yeah, Joe Burrow doesn't strike me as a guy that I would love hanging out with, just based on his appearance alone.
And I am on the record here. I do think that Joe Burrow is Alex Smith 2.0.
That's right.
And just, I don't have another place to throw this in, but ESPN announced they're doing a documentary on the Alex Smith recovery from a gruesome leg injury.
Yeah.
I can't think of something I would want to watch less.
Yeah, like the recovery process from almost losing his leg and dying. He still wants to play. Do you know that?
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way.
He got 17 surgeries. I've had one, and it's forever altered the way I move.
Yeah.
17, they took muscles from his quad, put them in his knee. Like, they did some really advanced stuff. But if he takes one NFL snap ever again, it's a pretty amazing story that I don't want to watch a documentary.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And
there's going to be worse medical footage than the Tom Green testicle cancer episode. Like, you know, it's just going to be vomit inducing. I don't want to see anything that ESPN wants to show me in that.
Going back to the draft, we spoke a couple weeks ago about how the NFL sent out a memo telling all players being drafted that they're only allowed to have 6 people in their camera shot when they're being shown on television. And I think almost every single player in the first and second round completely ignored that memo.
Absolutely. Joe Burrow did recognize it. He played by the rules, but apart from him, there were some pretty big parties at some houses that I don't know who paid for. There will be NCAA investigations after the real estate shown on ESPN this past week.
Yeah, some of these people had crazy houses. Isaiah Simmons' house was out of control. He lived in like a mansion.
Yeah, maybe the Simmons family works for Warren Buffett or something that I don't know about. Maybe they're filming at their agent's house. It could be part of it, but wow, there were some pads.
There were some pads. And something that I loved trying to keep track of in my head was putting together like an all dad football team from all the draftees' dads. There were some humongous dads.
Yeah, that DeAndre Swift, running back chosen by the Detroit Lions. His dad is jacked. It turns out he owns a gym. Like,
yeah,
that guy could have gotten drafted.
Yeah.
If you put him in the combine, he would do better than a few of these prospects who were picked high up.
Mekhi Becton, who is one of the most enormous people in the world right now, probably. He's like 6'7", 370 pounds. His dad was only a couple inches shorter than him and probably weighed 400 pounds. The man was just a brick wall.
Yeah, I mean, shouts to the Becton family, shouts to the Swift family. You really got to see good genes on display. And that was like a big part of this, because like these are like 21-year-olds, during this process, they're home with their parents.
Yeah.
So you got to see a lot more dads this year. I was all about it.
I love seeing the dads. I love seeing where the kids come from. So fun.
And while we're talking about the memo that the NFL sent out last week to draftees, there was certain language prohibiting them from showing certain brands.
Yeah.
And Saints coach Sean Payton broke that rule
I saw
5
that.
times.
Yeah.
He's going out, he's buying Pepsi and Fritos. Every partner that you're not allowed to use was on Sean Payton's desk. You love to see it. You know he's not paying that fine.
No. He needs the sugar, though. He just gave blood. He needs that soda sugar.
Yeah, and he's like the best look the NFL has right now.
Exactly.
Journey with coronavirus. He's giving antibodies. So, yeah, flex Sean Payton.
The Raiders had a crazy draft, but their 19th overall pick, who surprised pretty much everyone, Damon Arnett, cornerback, after he got picked, he went out in front of Pleasure Palace Adult Gifts and Novelties in Florida and filmed himself on Instagram Live celebrating.
And what was the celebration? Did he have any notable turns of phrase, or was it, yeah, baby, Raiders?
Literally, it was like, I did it. I did it. He was just in front of an adult gift and novelty store.
I understand that if you're a defensive tackle and your job is to plug the gap, but from a cornerback, it just makes no sense to me. You know me, I've been looking for a cheap sex joke with to make about a nickelback, dimeback. Is not there for a cornerback. I just think he was there anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you saw Arnett was projected to be the 10th or 11th cornerback taken, and
right.
He was the fourth one off the board rather.
He was not expecting to go in the first. Yeah.
Yeah, cornerbacks were the big beneficiary, like with the Lions not being able to trade down. Jeffrey Okudah at 3 was probably the earliest a cornerback will ever be taken in the NFL draft. So the value of all of them was higher.
Yeah.
The Falcons taking a cornerback, the Raiders taking a cornerback. They truly were picking on Nina. And we knew the Raiders were going to do something stupid here. And I like to think they did.
Speaking of seeing into some players and coaches' houses, Cliff Kingsbury's house is out of control. First of all.
Yes. It is the house from Parasite meets the hotel from Shining.
Yeah.
He needs to check his crawl space for a family. But you see the maze outside the door, and wow, money goes a long way in Arizona, huh?
For real, yeah. So Sean McVay, you could briefly see his backyard. He had a similar grass to cement setup in his backyard. But Sean McVay's house cost 4 or 5 times more than Cliff Kingsbury's Arizona home. I mean, he's got to be up there for, if you had to pick a house of one of these GMs or coaches to live in, where would you go?
Well, I might be tempted to pick Bill Belichick's house just because I know there's a dog in it. There's perks like built in. Bill Belichick won't be good to me, but at least there's someone who will be friendly. So you're kind of getting like an even deal right off the bat.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm tempted to say Kingsbury's house, but sometimes when places are like too nice, it's hard to relax. So, even his outfit, he's wearing Italian loafers. He's got 3 cell phones. I don't really want to be sharing that space with Kingsbury. And I assume the coaches are still there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they're your roommates. I didn't expect Belichick to be a dog guy.
No, I'm shocked. Isn't he the poster child for cat people?
Why do you say that?
Well, he's just like, everything's aloof. He's on his own terms. He's going to do what he's going to do, regardless of how it seems to anyone in the house. Like him letting Tom Brady walk is your cat waking you up at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
It's the same ethos behind it.
Oh,
do you think he'll trade in the dog when it shows the first sign of wearing down? Like, he'll just put to sleep far too early. It's like, no, he just needs to be groomed. No, I'm fine. On to Labradoodles.
Yeah, when that dog gets too expensive, he's going to kick it to the curb for the new hot thing.
Do we know the dog's name?
I don't know. Did you know the dog's name?
No, I was asking. I probably should have done the research on Bill Belichick's dog's name, but truly, I am just fascinated with this facet of the NFL draft. And I derailed you, Steve. What coach's house would you like to live in?
I just Googled it. His dog's name is Nike.
Whoa! I didn't even know they made sweatshirts.
The house that I would like to live in would be Bruce Arians' house. And the reason is, I mean, all we could really see of his house was his back patio, which looked super comfortable, super nice, a classic Florida back patio. It made me so nostalgic for growing up, going to friends' houses and just sitting in the back by the pool, chilling in the perfect weather. Have you ever been to Florida? Do you know how Florida back patios work?
I've spent a little bit of time in Miami, and I stayed with friend of the show, Jake Head's dad in Jacksonville, and he had a back patio, but it was mostly used for spotting snakes.
Apparently, I didn't know this until I left Florida, but in some states, people's back patios don't have like the mesh like screen.
Oh, yeah, that's only a Florida thing. Back patio stays open, baby.
No, you gotta have the screen.
No, you're a child of humidity, and it's colored your worldview. You realize you are the atypical person in this situation. If I'm on a back patio, I want to be seeing that sunset. I want to be smelling that ocean air. And like with the screen, you're just watching mosquitoes get caught for 6 hours a night.
Well, that's the thing. I guess, are mosquitoes just not a problem outside of Florida? I know that in New York, I don't really experience them, but
Well, they are, but you have to realize you were raised in the customs of swamp people. Mosquitoes are a threat that bigger in your life than it was in mine, and you and Dexter Morgan probably have a different way of viewing the world than most of us.
Yeah.
You know, Bruce Arians is like the ultimate back patio guy.
Oh, yeah. He probably has a TV back there, a couch back there.
Yeah, you're seeing it more and more. The TV on the back patio bar setup is the ultimate man cave. You cannot beat it. I'm in Arizona at the moment, currently looking for Cliff Kingsbury's house. And all these places I walk by, they've got these little bars set up on the back patio. They've got the TV going. It's a good look.
Yeah, man, that's the dream. Especially coming from someone who hasn't really been outside in a couple months. I've gone outside maybe 4 times in the last 2 months.
Man, this podcast is just terrible for you. I have a swimming hole out back. I'm going to see if I can I'll do the podcast next week while swimming in a river.
Oh, that would rule.
Might be bad for audio. Fortunately, there's a landscaper next door. I would go ask him to turn it off, but it's Arizona, so I don't want to explain what podcasts are to him. Can you keep it down? We're making internet radio over here.
I won the draft pool. Everybody.
You did not win the draft pool. You won an individual matchup
I won.
You and me, and it was close. The draft pool, I screwed us all. Like, I was trying to get a few more bucks in the pool. So I texted my buddy Patrick Schroeder.
You're the one that invited that guy?
I invited him.
Oh.
So we do this impossible draft pool, and we talked about it last week. And Patrick goes 9 out of 10 on the first 10 picks.
Insane.
There was never any doubt. I got accused by a friend of the show, Rich, of inviting an NFL draft mogul into the draft. If he did a mock draft, it would have been the most accurate mock draft. It was insane.
Yeah, it was wild. He blew everyone else out of the water. I think he finished with like 26 points or something, and the next closest person had maybe 14. It was nuts. But I finished with 12. Joel finished with 10.
Yeah, it's the Wonderlic all over again. What was the pick that got you over the top?
I actually went 4 of the first 5. Or 5 of the first 6. Yeah, I went 5 of the first 6. The only one I missed was I had Tristan Wirfs going to the Giants, and then they jumped up and grabbed Jackson.
Yeah, I think you actually beat me on the Lions not trading down for Jeff Okudah. That was the swing right there.
If you would have just kept them in place, we would have tied 12-12.
Yeah, times were different a week ago. The eyes were filled with optimism. You saw a market emerging, but no trade offers came in. But I'm at peace with the draft. The Lions had a great round 3. I did great on my draft bets. 2 out of
Nice.
3. I won on the Jalen Hurts under. I won on Dallas to pick offense. I called it here on the pod at plus 300 odds.
Yeah,
And
baby.
I lost. Burrow, Young is Tua as the first 3 picks. But I'm coming in at a 300% profit for the NFL draft. So
Heck
you
yeah.
love to see it.
Not bad. I ended up coming out about even. I think I made like 8 picks, but these are the notable ones. I lost Andrew Thomas over 10.5 because he ended up going 4th.
Ooh, that was a bold pick.
It was plus 140, and I thought that there were enough good offensive linemen that he could have slid, but did not happen. I also lost Tristan Wirfs to Giants because they took Andrew Thomas, but that was plus 350, and I just thought that the value was there. But then I won some good ones. I won 49ers first pick being defense at plus 150 because I thought they were going to take Javon Kinlaw, and they did. And then I won the Chiefs first pick offense at plus 135 because I thought they were going to take a running back, and they did. So pretty good. Came out about even.
2 of the more interesting picks of the first round. It kind of seems that the Chiefs let Pat Mahomes select Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, you saw that story where they asked him who he wanted, and that's who he said?
Yeah, so even before the contract extension, they are giving him everything he could ever want. And, what a blessing it is to be taken by the Kansas City Chiefs as a new weapon for that offense.
Yeah, what a dream.
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. First of all, he's immensely lucky just to be named Clyde. And then to go to Kansas City, everything's shaping up for this just to be the coolest life ever.
Oh, going back to our draft pool. The stakes were the loser would be purchasing a cameo from an NFL or ex-NFL, someone football adjacent to promote our show.
Yeah.
And we set the limit at $30. So here's a quick list of a couple players I found that might be good candidates.
Yeah, and shouts to our listeners who did suggest people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it did send me down a cameo rabbit hole, which I'm really sensitive to that. My boss at the Problems Network is like, you gotta stop talking about Cameo. But I just think about Cameo. Like the market of it is crazy. Michael Beasley, famous NBA draft bust, $175. Boban Marjanovic, $75.
It's crazy. It's crazy how people value themselves. It's just a matter of if they want to do it or not. Like if they don't want to make videos, they set themselves at $300. If they're like, this is fun, they'll just make themselves $20 and just do it.
Yeah, and I do have to pay for the cameo. And I did get my stimulus this morning.
There we go.
So the way this breaks out is the federal government is giving me money to stimulate the economy, and a portion of it goes to a D-list celebrity
who has a ton of money already.
Yeah, it's like Reaganomics in action.
Yeah. So here's a few. All right, J.D. McKissick is on there for $15. Ty Johnson is on there for $15. If we want to get a Lion.
Ty Johnson was actually my suggestion because with the drafting of DeAndre Swift, I think he's probably out of a job.
Yeah, so he needs the money.
Yeah, we could put a little money in his pocket. I like Ty. I think he's a good player, but he didn't get any favors done in the draft.
No, not at all. And speaking of the draft, Derek Brown was on Cameo for $15 before the draft.
What?
But now that he was drafted 7th overall, he's $50.
Yeah, and that's why you see these guys are making money as soon as they get to the NFL. Did you notice the very obvious product placement of Beats? Every quarterback put on white headphones just before they got drafted.
It was so unnatural, too. These kids are having the best moment of their life, and then it just seems like they're just listening to music while it's happening. It looked crazy. Why are they all wearing these big headphones? But yeah, it's obvious product placement.
Yeah, and if you're a quarterback, you get $50,000 for wearing headphones. If you're a defensive tackle, you get $35 more in your cameo. That is the NFL positional values in a nutshell.
Here's one that I would love is Nickel Roby-Coleman is only $15.
Ooh.
I know. He'd be an entertainer too.
That's a very good option right there. Nickel Roby Coleman. That might be the clubhouse leader. Him or Ty Johnson.
One of our listeners, my friend Jay, requested Bobo Wilson, who is a Bucks wide receiver, for $20.
Yeah, some people just live on in NFL legend because of their names. It pulls them out of obscurity. Every year in fantasy football from like 2011 to 15, we made a point to use a late round pick on a guy named Jamaica Rector. So Bobo Wilson's really stepping into those shoes.
Okay, a couple more. TJ Hushmanzada, $20.
Ooh.
I know.
Yeah, but the way with that price structure, it's a minute-long video. He's just going to say his name. Hey, Joel, it's TJ Hushmanzada. End of video.
Chicago Bears Pro Bowl punter Pat O'Donnell.
Ooh, not a bear. Can't do it. No chance.
Duck Hodges is on there for $25.
Ooh, the Duckster. That's also a nickname for him, and that's the name I call my cat. So I see some. I'm okay with that.
And then another listener on Twitter reached out, Jimmy V. Hyde. He sent in a couple requests that were way too expensive. He sent in Brett Favre. He sent in Michael Rappaport, who were both well over our budget of $30.
Michael Rappaport is such an interesting celebrity to me. Like, I think every time I see his framed photo hanging in a pizzeria, I know he asked the pizzeria to hang up that photo for him.
That's a good description. Was he on, you remember the show Boston Public?
Oh, Boston Public was a good show. Just based on skin tone alone, I'm going to guess he made a few appearances. Yeah. I was more of a Boston Common man, actually. We're picking 90s TV shows with Boston in the title. Give me a replacement level NBC sitcom all day.
The last one that Jimmy Hyde sent in was Coach Jason Brown from Last Chance U for $40. So a little over budget, but that would be a good one. I guess if you're listening right now, send in of this list. We've narrowed it down to this list. Send who you think we should pick. We will make the decision officially next week. They will make the cameo to promote our show.
Yeah, I think I know who it should be. And this is Steve's pick ultimately. He's trying to push it off on you, but it's Steve's responsibility.
Yeah.
And listeners, come on, back me up on this. Steve is a Rams fan. He went to the Superdome. It has to be Nickel Roby Coleman.
It has to be Nickel Roby Coleman.
No one is close to that. Like, that's a perfect synchronicity.
It is. And you know what? Since he's only $15, I'll buy another $15 one so that we reach our goal of $30, but we split it between the two of us.
I could get full. Let's just get two from Nickel Roby Coleman. It'll actually, with that, it'll be 6 Nickel Roby Coleman. Oh, boy.
So reach out. Let us know who you want to hear someone do a cameo for our show.
If you got that joke and thought it was funny, try eating some popsicles. There will be great stuff for you. You'll find your Rodney Dangerfield at the end of your dessert. I'm sorry for that one. Steve, do the ad read. I'm just going to sit in this.
Yeah. We're going to give a quick shout out here to fantasydata.com, who has partnered with the podcast and who has partnered with the Props Network. If you want to use your extra quarantine time preparing for fantasy football, which will hopefully happen in September, or researching stats for future bets, fantasydata.com is the perfect website for all the best advanced research and analytics you can find online. And because you're here listening to the Pile It On podcast presented by the Props Network, you can get a free week at fantasydata.com by entering the promo code PropsHQ. No spaces, PropsHQ, all one word. And quick reminder, we're going to be talking about some lines here for some of these rookies. All of those come from the DraftKings Sportsbook. And I just mentioned Props Network before. If you go on the propsnetwork.com and use our link on the website, you'll get the best sign-up bonus available at DraftKings, which right now is a $1,000 sign-up bonus, and you'll get to make a risk-free bet. Pretty cool stuff. A lot of free stuff.
Yeah, and this is going to be the biggest year for fantasy draft preparation of all time.
Oh my gosh.
You might as well go to our friends and get a leg up. Yeah. What else do you have to pay attention to?
Exactly. All right. Let's talk about some of these specific draft picks and maybe some futures odds on them. The first
And
one, oh,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
preface this segment by saying, just take every bet we're about to bring up to you. These lines are a gift. They're wonderful. And we know how this plays out every year. This isn't a measurement of like a win or loss thing. This is predictable human behavior. Steve did a great job making the outline for this week's show. The odds for Tua to be the week 1 starter plus 225. Justin Herbert to be the Chargers week 1 starter plus 250.
Yeah, I would take both of those.
Yeah, if you go 1 for 2, which you absolutely will, you're going to be ahead. And there's your week 2 bets right there.
Yeah. The Chargers did say that right now, I mean, they might have to say this. They said right now, Tyrod Taylor is the starting quarterback heading into camp. For whatever that's worth, that's what Anthony Lynn has said.
And I think the Tua thing is a lock, though.
I think so too.
The Dolphins, they don't know really how this roster is going to congeal quite yet. Everything looks very promising, but the Chargers, given the talent across the board, they have the ability to win some games now, and maybe Herbert has to win that job. Maybe he comes in after a hiccup, but no teams are going to be able to resist the urge to start these quarterbacks. Fans have been clamoring for Tua in the Dolphins arena for 2 years now. They're not going to be able to put it off another week.
I agree. And I loved both of those picks. I love where both of them ended up, and it'll be fun to watch them probably start for those teams week 1.
Yeah, and I made a big stink on this show about how I was going to root for the Chargers, and it was very much rooted in I was going to get to cheer for Derwin James next to Isaiah Simmons, making the best defense in the NFL. Meanwhile, they took the uninspiring Justin Herbert.
Hey, he carried over a 4.0 GPA in college.
Yeah, and this might just be my bias because I'm old enough to remember Bobby Hebert as a mediocre NFL quarterback. USFL, great, but mediocre NFL quarterback. And, Justin Herbert, the name doesn't inspire confidence.
No, you're right. Herbert is not a good, strong last name for a quarterback.
Yeah, even the ESPN Zoom broadcast confused him for his brother multiple times. He's anonymous.
This is one of the picks that you actually got right. Henry Ruggs went to the Raiders with their 12th
overall pick.
Out of control. Crazy pick. The first wide receiver off the board. His current offensive rookie of the year number is plus 1,800 odds for him to win rookie of the year. I think this pick was the perfect Raiders pick.
They picked the fastest guy. Al Davis is smiling down from heaven.
Yep.
In my mind, Al Davis is the only person in heaven. He did things right, man. I can't think of another human being, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, who lived my values as much as Al Davis did. So he's smiling down at the pick. And Ruggs, he's a great wide receiver, perfect prospect, but I would like to see him go to a more polished offensive scheme where he could be used as a weapon, like say CeeDee Lamb going to the Cowboys. But they're really going to rely on him. He might put up some big stats, but for a small-framed guy in what's clearly an overvaluation of players of his physical stature, like both him and Rager were valued more than I expected.
Yeah, same.
In large part because every team wants a Tyreek Hill.
Right, exactly. That's the formula everyone seems to be following. And it's interesting that the Raiders and the Broncos kind of went after speed in this draft at the wide receiver position. We'll get to the Broncos a little later, but this next pick is probably the most shocking pick of the whole first round. I don't know if you agree with me. Jordan Love going to the Packers.
And as a diehard Lions fan who's spent my entire life being tormented by Favre and Rodgers, you have to love this pick. What a gift right here. Aaron Rodgers is my nemesis. He's my enemy, but I think on raw ability, he's the best quarterback I've ever seen.
Wow.
And has never been backed up by his organization.
Right.
For him to be put in check by Matt LaFleur, who I think put together the worst 13-3 team of all time last year.
Yes.
The Lions had them beat twice before calls came in their favor. You could move the ball in between the 20s on them. For him to go with a player who, given Rodgers' contract situation, won't see the field until 2024 at the earliest is wonderful.
It's so baffling. They were one game away from being in the Super Bowl. And instead of plugging a couple holes that might help them get there, they used their first round pick on a quarterback that is a project guy. Like, he will not contribute to the team for at least 2 or 3 years.
And I don't think Jordan Love is a good quarterback. Going through he threw a ton of interceptions against bad competition in, I believe it was the Mountain West Conference last year.
Yeah.
Like, he was kind of the Brock Osweiler of that entire conference.
Yes.
And these are just human beings. They're susceptible. They have the same flaws we do. Is the fact that he kind of looks like a knockoff of Patrick Mahomes.
That's what it is.
The reason why he was taken here.
Seriously, that is what is drawing so many comparisons between these two QBs. They look pretty similar.
Yeah, he looks like a Patrick Mahomes action figure that was sold at Family Dollar.
Exactly, yeah.
And I was on here last week. I talked about whatever team took Jordan Love was going to be stupid to do so. Meanwhile, the Packers do this. They get a project, and in the second round, they pick another skill position, running back, when they already have Jones.
Yep.
The NFL's touchdown leader.
Yep. And he's a bruising running back. He doesn't really catch passes. So I guess the idea is to have this new guy who's AJ Dillon. Is that his name?
Yes.
He's, I guess, going to be first and second down, and they'll have Jones be their third down back or something. But Aaron Jones is one of the bright spots on the team last year, I thought.
Yeah, and really, like, this new regime is being treated like they're world beaters when realistically, I think Rodgers and a decent pass rush carried them to their success last season.
Yeah.
Like, this team strikes me as the Packers have always really understood who they were so cogently. Mm-hmm. And this just seems like such a step in the wrong direction for them. And I am thrilled.
I'm thrilled too. And I'm excited to see, apparently Aaron Rodgers reached out to Jordan Love and was like, hey, congratulations. But I'm excited to see their relationship blossom over the next couple of years.
Yes, and of course, the joke has been beaten into the ground. Aaron Rodgers will treat Jordan Love like family.
Yeah.
We've all heard it. We've all made it. Congratulations to us all.
Another surprising quarterback, Jalen Hurts, drafted in the second round to the Philadelphia Eagles.
What a draft for the Eagles. They are just outwardly tormenting their fan base. They won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they're still so stressed out and dissatisfied.
Yeah. I was looking for if there was any Jalen Hurts lines for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Obviously, there's not. Apparently, their idea is to put him on the field as possibly a running back, maybe like a Taysom Hill type player. But really, I mean, the Eagles needed insurance at quarterback. Carson Wentz gets hurt every single year. So it'll be fun to see Jalen Hurts get 4 or 5 starts this year and see how he does.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts, he had great success in multiple systems. He's got great tools, and he seems like a really good young man. So if he's probably going to play 2-3 games a year, I don't mind the pick in the second round. And as a long-term development, like, they can turn this guy into something really special if it breaks in their direction. I was happy to see it. The Eagles really had a rough draft from how I think that division shakes out. I think the Cowboys just crushed it in many ways at the expense of the Eagles.
Yep.
But, this is a long view.
How about the Lions taking DeAndre Swift?
And how about me doing a good job not breaking down the Lions draft off the bat here? It's clearly all I've been thinking about. It's been sitting under a heat lamp for 5 days now, Steve. And really, I think the first 2 rounds of the Lions draft, I was really worried. that's Akuda's high to take a cornerback. They didn't maximize the pick. They could have really put their nuts on the table and take it to started a bidding war for him.
Right.
And they took the safe way out. And then DeAndre Swift, I love the prospect. I think he's the best running back in the draft, and he's going to be like a versatile offensive weapon. But I wasn't thrilled with it just because we have big needs. Luckily, the third round broke our way in tremendous fashion. A lot of people had us taking Aquara at the top of the second. He was mocked in the first round a lot. And then we got a great offensive guard, Jonah Jackson. So all major needs have been addressed. We have $30 million of cap room, and we're leaving this draft with 3 new starters, plus the best cornerback and running back in the draft.
Amazing. Isn't that the best feeling?
And like we're saying with the Packers, like Bears also had such a pedestrian draft. They still don't have a first rounder, and they picked another tight end.
Yeah.
10 on the roster in the second round.
Speaking of teams that we've been wanting to talk about for a long time, the Rams took Cam Akers, another second round running back. Who do you think will have the better year?
I think Cam Akers will have the better year, but DeAndre Swift will be the better player.
Okay.
Akers is going to get a ton of snaps. He's going to touch the ball so often in that offense. And with Gurley and their cap situation, they need him to be productive.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift, the Lions have a lot of good skill position players. He's still going to split time with Kerryon Johnson. And I expect him to be brought along slowly as a third down back. Akers, I could see him being a 3 down back right from the get-go.
There's a crazy stat about Cam Akers. He played with a really bad offensive line at Florida State. I think of his 1,200 rushing yards last season, 900 of them came after contact. So it's going to be fun to watch him just barrel through people.
Yeah, and if you want to think of a long shot bet for offensive rookie of the year, Cam Akers is your guy.
Yeah, we've seen how the Rams use running backs in the past. Let me see if I can find him on here. See, he's plus 2,000 to win offensive rookie of the year.
Great odds. We've seen enough from Sean McVay. Last year they went through hell as a team, and they still had a rather productive offense.
Right. Yeah.
So expect more of that.
The Broncos, we mentioned this a little bit before. They spent their first 2 picks on wide receivers, 2 quick, fast wide receivers. They got Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. KJ Hamler ran like a 4.3 40.
Yeah, the Hamler pick was pretty stunning, just given that Cortland Sutton is such a legit number 1.
Yeah.
But, that was our biggest, most intriguing story in the AFC West was going to be the arms race to catch up with the Oakland Raiders, Vegas Raiders, where I don't know if that stadium will get finished Raiders. And I think the Broncos really equipped themselves nicely. We'll see how the defense comes along given the losses in the secondary, but Drew Lock is in a tremendous position to succeed here. There's no reason for him not to.
And Jerry Jeudy quickly became one of my favorite drafted players after some tweets from 2013 were unearthed. When he was 14 years old, he went on a little bit of a run tweeting about Big Bird.
What if Big Bird do a drive by? What if you see Big Bird and Barney slap boxing? What if you see Big Bird walk up to you and ask, "Where's Sesame Street?"
What if you see Big Bird getting beat up by Cookie Monster for smashing Elmo? Because there was a previous tweet that said, "What if you see Big Bird fucking Elmo?"
April 6th, 2013, and he did it over a couple days, actually. Yeah. So he really committed to the bit. It's the dedication you want to see from your first-round pick.
I love it.
Loyalty to a subject, and he can understand something from a multitude of ways.
The Panthers drafted all defensive players. They used all of their picks on defense, which they needed to address, but still interesting that with such a deep wide receiver class and all these other good running backs, they went all defense.
Yes, but that is a byproduct of them being bought by a hedge fund manager, David Tepper. And, if someone's coming from Wall Street, they're looking for market in a value in the market. I forgot a word there, so I needed to start the sentence. And in this draft that was the king of receivers, there's all these running backs that people were falling in love with. I think it really showed a lot of value going all defense here.
Yeah, totally.
And we've been over the speed of their receiving core. They still have Christian McCaffrey, and Bridgewater is passable. So, yeah, they just maximized their value.
The 49ers, I think, made out really well in this draft just because of this one trade that they made. They traded a 5th and a 3rd from 2021 for Trent Williams.
And, of course, Washington coach Ron Rivera came out and said that a first-round pick was offered for Williams at the deadline last year. Hasn't even coached a game, already airing dirty laundry about the franchise. And, wow, why would you leak that publicly? I like the move for San Francisco, especially given Joe Staley's retirement. But how are they going to afford all these players?
Yeah, I have no idea. I guess they're just in win now right now.
Yep, but I think they're prohibitively above the cap, and they're trying to get rid of 4 starters.
Whoa.
Dee Ford and Quan Alexander among them, and I believe Marquise Goodwin as well.
Marquise went to the Eagles.
They
traded him away.
Okay, so that trade got to happen. So look for the Niners to take on another salary dump kind of deal, because I think they have to.
Wow. But this was a huge pickup for them, especially with Joe Staley gone. Like, left tackle, arguably the most important position on the field other than quarterback. So it's only good news for them. But yeah, I didn't realize they were so far over the cap. That's crazy.
Yeah, but getting these rookie contracts cheap, like with Deebo Samuel and now Brandon Ayuk, the receiving core is going to be cheap for the next 3 years at least.
Yep.
And then they got Javon Kinlaw. So if they need to sell off one of their defensive line pieces, they've got, a lot of people had him rated higher than Derek Brown. So he could step right in there. Before we get out of the draft, I just want to say the Lions drafted Julian Okwara, brother of Romeo Okwara. And are these brothers named after Romeo and Juliet? Guys, it seems like these are brothers named after Romeo and Juliet. I put in there just so I could make that analysis. The world needs to know just how strange that is.
That is something the parents should have thought about. If that wasn't intentional, they should have said, this is too close. We need to just change this kid's name. But maybe it wasn't. That must have been intentional. It has to have been intentional for them to do that.
Yeah, and it sounds like such a limp dick correction. No. It's Romeo and Julian.
Wow, huge. And they're both on the Lions now. That could spell disaster for them. If we know the story of Romeo and Juliet, the Lions could be in for quite a scene.
Yeah, well, they've already come out and said that they're going to be roommates, so they've gotten around the biggest problem of Romeo and Juliet already. If they could have cohabitated, it would have been a different story.
No worries at all. Yeah. All right. So a lot of teams did well. I feel like most teams did well this draft, but there were a couple teams that did really, really poorly. But what do we know? You wrote in the outline here that the Seahawks drafted Bruce Irvin, Bobby Wagner, and Russell Wilson 8 years ago, and they received a D from Bleacher Report.
Yeah, so take this with a grain of salt. We could see Jordan Love winning multiple Super Bowls, and the Packers will be vindicated.
Yeah, that's a crazy draft that they had, and that obviously led up to their Super Bowl win, and they got a D.
Yeah, who knew that the Seahawks were so above the curve? Like, people didn't understand that having a cheap quarterback was a good thing.
Yeah, right?
So who do you think had the best draft?
The best draft, I feel, was the Minnesota Vikings. And they kind of cheated because they had 14 picks in the draft. So, they were bound to get a few hits. But they drafted 4 players who I'm pretty sure will either start or be role players. They drafted Jeff Gladney, who will probably be their cornerback 1. Justin Jefferson, who will probably be their wide receiver 2. Cameron Dantzler, who's going to be their slot corner, playing nickel formations. And then left tackle Ezra Cleveland will probably end up sliding in for right tackle or left tackle by the end of the season. So they had a lot of holes they needed to fill, and I think they did a great job of filling them with this draft.
Yes, they did. They took the ammunition from the Stephon Diggs trade, just
Yep.
like I was afraid they would. They were going to. And the Vikings, they're in total win now mode. Getting Ezra Cleveland as late as they got him, I thought they might take him in the first round.
Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah, he
similar
slid.
situation to the Lions and Julian Aquara. But I think the Vikings are a team that could be interesting for Super Bowl betting purposes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Let me pull up their futures here. Team futures, NFL championship. We got the Vikings at plus 2,500.
Yeah, and that's great odds for a team that I think will win their division. The Packers draft is going to pay dividends for the Vikings. They were neck and neck last year. I don't see anyone in the NFC North touching them.
Yeah.
And for a team that I think hosts a home playoff game, 25-1 odds is fantastic.
Yeah. Who do you think had the best draft?
I'm going to go with the Dallas Cowboys. I thought they'd go interior offensive line, but they had to take CeeDee Lamb just to mess with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Their receiving core is now going to be Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, who's a really solid number 2, and then put in CeeDee Lamb in an all-around weapon role. More often than that, they did replace Byron Jones with Trevon Diggs to step in as a starting quarterback. And I love their late-round pick, Neville Gallimore. I thought he was undervalued across the board, and they could plug it in. And their offensive line, they do have questions, but I think they can plug the gap for one season and still be effective behind Tyron Smith.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a great draft. And very funny that Jerry Jones just locked himself on his yacht.
Yeah, the reason I made that Cowboys to pick offense bet was it came out the morning of that Jerry Jones would not be taking calls from scouts during the draft. And that
which is crazy. There's no way that's true.
With Jerry Jones, who knows?
Yeah.
I knew Jerry wouldn't be able to resist himself.
Yeah, that's true. With CD on the board, he salivated. Who do you think had the worst draft?
Well, I think we're both going to say the Packers here, but
it's obvious choice.
I'll also say the Redskins didn't do much after getting Chase Young. They traded away their second. In the running back, they take Antonio Gibson when they've already invested highly in Darius Geis.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of questions with that roster. And despite Chase Young and a pretty good defense, I think they could be in the Trevor Lawrence Derby.
Yeah. Interesting. That makes sense to me. I was kind of surprised they didn't address quarterback, even though they're apparently going with Dwayne Haskins.
They're local to the loyal kids. All their first-round picks, they're like from Maryland, which is kind of fun.
I wonder if there's still a chance that the Redskins grab Cam.
Ooh, and Cam has to go somewhere. There's rumors of Cam to New England, but it's kind of right there for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The Packers had the worst draft. It all hinges on that Jordan Love pick. Like they didn't pick a wide receiver in an extremely wide receiver heavy class.
And there's totally a false narrative going around that Aaron Rodgers has had poor skill positions players, and we both know that's not true. He's always had very good receivers.
Yeah, he had Jordy Nelson and Randall Cobb for like 5 years together.
Yeah, Greg Jennings, Devontae Adams, like those are 4 Pro Bowl caliber receivers. Sure, they played with Aaron Rodgers, but the cupboard hasn't exactly been bare over there.
No, I agree. But it is just interesting it doesn't seem like they're in any hurry to win with Aaron Rodgers. They're like, oh, we'll just see how it goes next year.
Yeah, you really want to take this opportunity to stick it to the franchise quarterback who's carried you for over a decade.
Yeah.
Smart strategy right there.
Yeah. Oh, you have who do you think
are this year's Browns?
Interesting question.
A buzzy off season and then fails to meet up to any expectations.
Interesting question. Let me think about this. Who do you think?
Well, I think the Cardinals are getting a lot of hype, and I don't know that Cliff Kingsbury can coach. I think we're dangerously close to another Freddie Kitchens situation there.
Mm-hmm.
DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Kyler Murray, but I don't know if it necessarily translates to wins on the field.
I agree with that. Um, I think this sucks for me to say, but this is the closest I can think of that's like what the Browns were last year. I think the Bucks might be this year's Browns
That's the answer I'm looking for, baby. I don't know.
because I don't think they're going to be as bad as the Browns were this year. I do think they win 9 or 10 games. They could make the playoffs, but everyone for whatever reason decided now that they have Tom Brady and Gronk that they're like close to being odds on favorites to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the addition of Gronk moved their Super Bowl odds from 12-1 to 8-1. And like,
That's so dumb.
the guy clearly still needs to put on 30 pounds. I watched WrestleMania. And yeah, I don't see that Brady's skill set necessarily maximizes Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, two guys who love to just run deep routes and snag it down the field.
Yeah. But again, I don't think they're going to be as bad as the Browns were coming off of their hyped up offseason, but certainly they should not be one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl just because of an aging quarterback and a tight end who hasn't played in 2 years.
No chance.
Speaking kind of the Patriots, they did not draft a QB to replace Tom Brady.
People are high on Jared Stidham. The Auburn has a terrible passing offense. I think Bill thinks he has something there.
Which is so, but like who's their backup? Brian Hoyer? Is he still there?
I believe it is Brian Hoyer. And, maybe they were going to get Jameis. He's going to be on the Saints. And they took a Division II safety in round 2.
Yep.
So, are the Patriots trying to cave and get out of cap hell? I don't know, but I think they'll find a way to be competitive.
They always do. But it would be so fun to see them with a weapon like Cam. Or they might trade for Dalton still. That's still on the table as well.
Oh, yeah, Dalton would be perfect there. Whatever the Patriots do, expect them to win 10 games.
Yeah.
They're not dead. It's been Bill Belichick this whole time.
Yep.
And just back to the Buccaneers thing for a second, I saw a stat that, like, quarterbacks in their first year of a Bruce Arians offense have a propensity for turnovers.
Yep.
So there's going to be some troubling trends that they got to keep up with.
I am excited to see what happens with Jameis in New Orleans. He signed a shockingly small contract to be the backup for Drew Brees. He only has $1 million guaranteed.
Yeah, and he's saying he wants to play for the Saints. It's a quarterback university. He gets to play with Drew Brees, Sean Payton, and Joe Lombardi, who was the worst offensive coordinator I've ever seen during his time at Detroit. Jameis doesn't see the field. When Drew Brees goes down, I think they're going to give the ball to Taysom Hill, who signed a contract laden with quarterback incentive clauses.
Yeah. Jameis is hoping to be the next Teddy. So we'll see if it pays off. If he would have been franchise tagged in Tampa, he would have made like $30 million. Now he's making $1 million.
If Tom Brady makes a different decision there, Jameis Winston makes $30 million. So he must really have it out for Tom right now. He feels the way Giants fans feel all the time.
All right. Speaking of these rookies who got drafted, let's look at some of the Rookie of the Year odds. Offensively, Burrow is at plus 215. Edwards-Helaire is at plus 550. Tua is plus 700. Jonathan Taylor plus 1,000. And then your DeAndre Swift is at plus 1,200. You think there's good value here?
I think there's great value with Tua at 7-1. And I like the 20-1 odds of Ayers.
Yeah, of Akers.
Sorry, my bad. I think Tua is great odds here. 7-1 seems worth it. And aside from that, I think Burrow's just stay away. Edwards-Helaire probably won't get the touches, and I think the same's to be said with Swift.
I feel like you kind of have to go with a quarterback.
Yeah, especially when these quarterbacks are already celebrities.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I would take Tua here at plus 700. I think that's probably the best odds you'll get ever. I think it'll just consistently, as news comes out that he will be the starter, that number will go down.
Yeah, the NFL wants the Tua narrative to succeed. He will have every opportunity to do so.
Yeah, but I do like the Cam Akers plus 2,000. Maybe I'll put some money on that. Defensively, We got Chase Young at plus 200, Isaiah Simmons plus 500, Patrick Queen plus 900, Murray plus 1100, and Jeff Okudah plus 16.
And just based on value here, Jeff Okudah is tremendous at 16-1. And because the Lions quietly added 4 new starters to their defense, they still have $30 million in cap room. And if they're able to turn around that defense from 31st to, like, say 15th,
Yeah,
I expect Jeff Okudah to get the lion's share of the credit for that.
totally. Yeah, I agree with that. I think Patrick Queen is a good pick here just because he's going to rack up a ton of tackles. I think statistically he will probably look the best of these rookies, and 9-1 odds is pretty great. But yeah, Okudah is, for you, got to be a fun one to pick.
Yeah, 16-1, and like I just think he's going to get the Lions defense will be competitive, and he'll be triumphed. That's the reason why.
All right, Joel, it's been about an hour, but before we get going, I have an important update on our Twitter following.
How are we doing?
We set a goal today to get 20 followers. When I checked before we started recording, we had 21 followers.
Killing it.
Yes, so far we haven't missed our mark. Next week we're going for 25 followers. So if you're listening to this and you're not yet following us on Twitter, it's at Pile It On Podcast. Hit us up. Tell me who we should get Cameo, who we should get to make a promo on Cameo. And, tell us how wrong we are about everything we're saying too. We'll take that.
Yeah, but we've been right about a couple of things so far where we're starting to put together a respectable track record here, Steve.
Oh yeah. God, I can't wait till there's actual football.
If there is actual football. If not, this podcast is going to get weird. It's a push-up contest.
Yeah, we still have 5 months at the best before football starts. So I hope you guys are ready for a wild ride for the next 5 months. That's it for this week. It was a fun football week. Thank you for joining me, Joel, as always.
Great to have just anything to talk about. I am at The Walkowski on Twitter, at Joel Walkowski on Instagram. On the Props Network, my quarantine quiz show In Action comes out every Monday. We did a whole Michael Jordan episode with Tommy McNamara and Tom Takar that you guys should check out.
Funny guys.
We had Donnie Singstack play Michael Jordan. It was great. We didn't use any face makeup. Don't worry.
Yeah, check us out on YouTube, Twitter, all the whatevers, outlets. ThePropsNetwork.com is the website bringing you this podcast, so check them out as well. Until next time, I'm Steve Clark. That's Joel Walkowski. We'll see you next week.